everybody, this is Bogus Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the McFarlane Toys Mortal Kombat 11 Baraka variant. So before we take a look at Baraka, let's take a look at the accessories that he comes with. So first up, you get your standard Mortal Kombat base, but he stands pretty well on his own. And finally, he comes with one of my favorite accessories from this whole line, a brain that you can skewer on his blade there. That looks really good. The sculpt detail to this brain looks really nice. It's got some paint variation to it. That looks really nice and awesome. I suppose since these are separate piece in the packaging, you could count them as an accessory. They just peg in. But if you take it out, you can see that there's a big hole there. So you can take those out if you want, but then you get that really big hole in the forearm there. So I'd recommend leaving these on. So now let's go ahead and take a look at his head sculpt. McFarlane Toys did such an awesome job on this head sculpt. It looks incredible. All of the teeth are sculpted very nicely, and the paint on him is really nice as well. He's got this pinkish red color that's painted over top of his skin tone, and it got in all of the cracks there, so it brings out all of that sculpted very nicely. He's got a really nice gloss coating over his mouth, making it look really slimy. He also has a gloss coat right here underneath his eyes. His eyes are also really bright. The paint that McFarlane Toys used on the eyes, it really stands out. Like, even back here, they really look like they're glowing. So McFarlane Toys did an outstanding job on this. He has some really nice texturing to his skin. He has some paint variation, that reddish color right here around his neck area. I do wish it would have continued down here to his chest. It doesn't, but it still looks really good. I really like the way that looks. He has some sculpted arm spikes with just a little bit of paint on them. I feel like the left is painted better than the right, because there is just a little bit of paint on the right, but it's not as prominent as on the left, because you can see the paint variation here, but it's really hard to tell on this right side. It is there, it's just not as prominent. Let me see. Yeah, there's barely any down here on his bicep. There is some on his shoulder, but there's barely any on that right bicep. He has some really nice texturing to his shirt here. A little bit of brown ran over there on the white, though, so that does look a little bit funny. But the straps there have some nice texturing and some silver paint over top of them. Now, I did try to remove this, but you can't, because if you look, let me bend it forward there, it tapers here at the bottom. I removed the arms thinking I could just slip this off, and if this was a more pliable material, if it wasn't so dense, I do think you could slip it off. So if you apply some heat right here, you could definitely pop this off. I was really hoping it was a more pliable material, that way I could remove this and have multiple looks for Baraka, which you can still do that. You just have to heat this up to get this off of him, to make that a little bit easier. He has some pretty nice sculpt detail to his wrapping here. If you look, this joint piece is actually colored in. That was my complaint with Nightwolf, is that the wrapping on his forearm, that joint there was just, I think it was skin color is what it was. And this is cast in skin color, but they actually painted the wrapping over top of that as well as sculpted on there. So I do appreciate McFarlane Toys doing that. His skull buckle looks really nice. The silver that McFarlane Toys used really stands out on that. The leather texturing on his tunic looks very nice. And the stitch work on his pants also looks good. That's a really cool detail that McFarlane Toys painted on. I'm really surprised that's painted on. But yeah, even on the back it's painted on. So those stitches look really cool. You get some more wrappings here on his knees. And the one thing that bothers me about his knees is there's a little bit of a gap right there. I feel like if they would have made the peg right here just a little bit bigger, or sculpted it out just a little more, it would have been hidden. But the way it's sculpted, there's just a little bit of gappage right there. That's a really minor complaint, though. So now let's go ahead and take a look at Baraka's articulation. He has a ball-jointed head that can just about look up all the way. He can look down just a little bit. He can move his head side to side very nicely. He has ball-jointed shoulders that can move all the way out. He has butterfly joints that can spin all the way around. He has swivel at the bicep, double-jointed elbows that can only bend in that far. This bottom piece doesn't want to move. If you can get it to move, it still can't quite move all the way in. So the articulation is hindered there just a little bit. He has ball-jointed wrists. They're really tough to move. They can really just spin around. I can't move it up that much. I am afraid I'll break it. So I don't know if that's just mine or all of them. He has a ball-jointed diaphragm and waist that can move back all the way, and he can actually crunch forward all the way underneath this piece right here, which I'm really surprised. It's such a heavy material that I didn't think he'd be able to crunch forward there, but he can. That's a really decent amount there. You can see there's a little bit of gappage, but it's hidden by this shirt piece. He can also move side to side in both places very nicely. He can just about do a complete split. If I push the articulation, I think I could get him to do a complete split, but I don't want to split the material right here. He has a really nice thigh swivel up here. He also has a swivel down here above the knee. So you have the swivel up here and then down here. He has double jointed knees that can bend in all the way. He has ball jointed ankles that can move down just a little bit, up all the way, spin all the way around, and toe articulation that can move up all the way. So now, let's do some size comparisons. So first up, here he is next to the other figures in this wave, Nightwolf and Commando Spawn. And this was a really solid wave. This is probably my favorite Mortal Kombat wave. I like every figure in this wave. I did have my complaints with Nightwolf, but he's still a really solid figure. Here he is next to Cabal and Noob Saibot, both bloody versions. Here he is next to Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Here he is next to Liu Kang and Raiden. Here he is next to Shao Kahn and the Joker. And finally, here he is next to Platinum Katana and Kotal Kahn. So overall, I would highly recommend picking this Baraka figure up because he is one of my favorite figures from the McFarlane Mortal Kombat line. I missed out on the original Baraka figures, so yeah, I definitely recommend picking this one up. If you have the previous versions, you could probably skip this, but I have to say, out of all of the looks that McFarlane has done for Baraka so far, this is definitely my favorite. So that's my review. If you like this review, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.